You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me! I've never been to a cell that had a phone in it. Can I stay for a while? Because I ordered some pizza.
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. Anything you say may be used against you.
Who has made the list? Who has been omitted? And who did we get wrong? Today I'll be counting down what I believe to be the 5 best all-time movie cops. Hello there to everyone watching, and thank you once again for returning to ReelScreenReviews.com. I am movie critic Nick Iacobucci, and before we get to our countdown, I thought that we would set a few ground rules. We are going to be going through the best in cinematic law enforcement, so I thought that we would start by describing what it is not. Well, people, it can't be the likes of Sam Spade, it can't be the likes of Eddie Valiant, or yet another example would be Sherlock Holmes. These are private investigators and not police officers, and it's because they don't carry a badge that they are simply ruled out. This also eliminates most superheroes because they are either of alien descent or just an out-and-out vigilante. Superman and Wonder Woman fall into the former, and other masked Avengers like Batman, Zorro, or the Lone Ranger fall into the latter, and just about all that are left fall into one of these two categories. The Men in Black are secret government agents, as are Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., so when you think about it, they are definitely not the representatives of local law enforcement or being a cop. Now let's see, I've also omitted the guys from Rush Hour and Bad Boys, and that's only because when I think of them, I think of a partnership or duo, and that's for another show entirely. James Bond is a British secret agent, and even though Sylvester Stallone and Governor Schwarzenegger have played many heroes over the years, no clear cop stands out. Rocky, the Terminator, Rambo, and Conan the Barbarian all successfully avoid the list. When you actually think of it, many more famous cops have appeared on TV over the years than on the big screen, and most heroes on the big screen aren't cops in the first place. Now, it was extremely difficult getting this list down to 5, so for that reason alone, I have added some that are honorably mentioned. Now, these are in no particular order, and I must stress that in this countdown, it's just my humble opinion, and I welcome any comments below. I can't think of anything more open to interpretation than something like this, so please feel free to express any of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. I don't know what kind of a door I'm opening by saying that, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. Okay, folks, getting back to the movie's cops that have made honorable mention, that list begins with Al Pacino as Frank Serpico in Sidney Lumet's Serpico. Al Pacino's great turn as a real-life city New York cop struggling with corruption in the department was one of his best, and I believe he got a Golden Globe for his work. Next, how about Sam Gerard, a U.S. Marshal that is still a badge-carrying officer of the law, and with more than one film, I think he fits this list. Then I have Popeye Doyle from The French Connection next on the list. This was Gene Hackman's first Oscar win as one of cinema's most famous cops in one of history's most famous films. Next, I put Dick Tracy on the list not only because I love the Warren Beatty film from the early 90s, but also because Dick Tracy has been reinvented on screen many times going back many decades. And my last of the group goes to Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer as Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday from Tombstone. Once again, they were deputized officers of the law, and Tombstone definitely gives us 2 of the best movie police officers ever, in my opinion. Now we will get to our top 5 movie cops, and coming in at number 5 is Eddie Murphy as Detective Axel Foley in the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. This film, Beverly Hills Cop, was not just the perfect vehicle to start the Eddie Murphy career. Beverly Hills Cop is also just a perfect blend of action, comedy, and profanity, and brings these elements together almost in harmony. At the center of this is a foul-mouthed jerk from out of town that, by the way, you can't help but love, and holds this film together utterly and completely. Eddie Murphy proved that he was a leading man with this character of Axel Foley, and after 29 years is still going strong most of the time. Did you hear me? I said most of the time, not all of the time. My number 4 choice as movie's top cop is Alex Murphy or Robocop. Years of time have taught me that this is one of Hollywood's more intelligent police dramas, and it is surrounded by one of history's most underrated performances. This is a tale that weaves an intelligent circle of a corrupt corporation and the result of their ignorance. They basically invent a being that more or less becomes self-aware, and after it does, it in turn goes right after those that created him, because those that created him are also responsible for his murder. But being a cop means serving the public trust and upholding the law, and what a coincidence, those are his prime directives. You can still watch Robocop till this day, and it doesn't even really look that dated. You know, even though this is being remade for 2013, I find it almost impossible that they could ever improve on this now classic. Robocop, the future of law enforcement, is also the #4 best cinematic police officer. The middle of my top 5 obviously brings me to #3 and to Inspector Dirty Harry Callahan, the legendary San Francisco inspector that has led us through 5 feature films and countless action segments. You know, on paper, words like, "Do you feel lucky?" and "Go ahead, make my day" are just that, words on paper. But when Clint Eastwood says them in front of a camera, they become iconic and memorable lines to be uttered and mimicked for decades to follow. Dirty Harry Callahan's blatant disregard for rules and proper procedure made him an instant hit with every guy, and his looks made him an instant hit with every lady. Dirty Harry has set the standard for the image of the rugged tough guy in America, and that standard has been shadowed by almost every actor, even in the smallest way, for 3 generations that have followed. I hope that I've made Dirty Harry Callahan's day by making him the #3 top movie cop of all time. This brings us to #2, and that would be John McClane from the Die Hard film series. John McClane is always an extremely entertaining character brought to vivid life by the almost always likable Bruce Willis. People, especially kids from today, don't remember that 25 years ago, 20th Century Fox paid $5 million to an unproven TV actor, and those results could have been disastrous. Thank God, however, that Bruce Willis fit the wrong place, wrong time persona to the letter, and the new dimension of flawed hero and real person was a nice switch from Rambo and the Terminator. Also worth mentioning is that the 5th installment in this franchise, entitled A Good Day to Die Hard, is slated for release in February of 2013, and after more than 25 years, Bruce Willis is still the only man to play John McClane. After a quarter of a century, 4 different actors had played 007 on the big screen, so I guess that's another compliment to Mr. Bruce Willis. Without question, John McClane's wisecracking and scene-stealing action segments are legendary, and that is why he is well deserving of his spot as #2 on the list. Now this brings us to our top spot of the top cop in movie history. My #1 choice for the best movie cop goes to Mel Gibson as Martin Riggs in the Lethal Weapon franchise. Now the main reason is that many times over the years, many actors have attempted to bring to life the man living on the edge or the proverbial death wish persona, but most come off simply as unmemorable or disingenuous. Mel Gibson has many key scenes in the original Lethal Weapon, and each one is more believable than the next. You are truly captivated for this cop that honestly has nothing to live for. That is until his partner and the caring of his partner's family change all that. On top of everything else, he's one of the biggest badasses in the history of film. Sometimes you combine great action with a great actor, and even though it doesn't happen very often, sometimes you get a Martin Riggs, the #1 movie cop of all time, according to ReelScreenReviews.com. Well, that's going to do it for our countdown of the top 5 movie cops in cinema history. I hope you've enjoyed the show. And remember, people, I'm not always right, but only when it comes to the movies. And thank you very much for your attention.
Eddie Murphy.
You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me!